Hello everybody, it's that college football guy here with the final preview video, the final one. It's the SEC. First off, real quick, I want to say thank you to everyone for all the well wishes, for the comments, for the messages I've gotten directly. Thanks everyone for this. I thank you. My son thanks you. He's amazed at the outreach for on there. He's gotten a lot of messages from his friends. He didn't think he'd be that popular right now, but he is. He's drinking Gatorade like it's going out of style, but that's another reason, another thing entirely. But he's doing better still. So let's see what happens, and hopefully it's another day and get better. But right now, SEC preview time. This is going to be a long one, folks. So shall we get right at it? Remember this? Oh, yeah. Remember this? Side by side. All right. SEC East standings from 2021. Here we go. Georgia, 14-1 overall, 8-0 in conference. The defending national champs. Kentucky, 10-3 overall, 5-3 in conference. This is where it gets a little bit weird for the overall records. You'll see here. Tennessee, 7-6 overall, 4-4 in conference. Missouri, 6-7 overall, 3-5 in conference. South Carolina, 7-6 overall, 3-5 in conference. Florida, 6-7 overall, 2-6 in conference. Yes, 7-6, 6-7, 7-6, 6-7. Don't ask. Vanderbilt, 2-10 overall, 0-8 in conference. Like, that's a surprise. SEC West, Alabama, 13-2, 7-1 in conference. Defending conference champs, Ole Miss, 10-3 overall, 6-2 in conference. Arkansas, 9-4 overall, 4-4 in conference. Mississippi State, 7-6 overall, 4-4 in conference. Texas A&M, 8-4 overall, 4-4 in conference. You're saying to yourself, wait a minute, 8-4, where's the bowl game, man? Well, you forget, they were assigned to the Gator Bowl last year, but there was a massive COVID outbreak on the team, so they didn't want to take the chance, so they canceled their appearance in the Gator Bowl and didn't play a bowl game last year due to COVID. And then the final two teams in the SEC West were Auburn and LSU, both 6-7 overall, 3-5 in conference. All right, so how's it going to go? Well, let's start off with the SEC East alphabetically. Starts off with Florida. They start off their season with 3 consecutive home games against Utah, Kentucky, and USF. Then they're at Tennessee, home for Eastern Washington, Missouri, and LSU. That's right, 6 of their first 7 at home. Then they get a bye. Then they play Georgia in Jacksonville. Then at Texas A&M, home for South Carolina, and then finish on the road at Vanderbilt and at Florida State. A lot of home games for Florida. Well, who are they going to beat? Well, actually, they got a lot of wins, so who are they going to lose to? They're going to lose to Tennessee. They beat Tennessee last year. This is Billy Napier's first game, true road test. Tennessee's mad. Florida's going to come in, and Tennessee's going to be hostile. I am a Tennessee fan. I will admit that up front. Tennessee's got something to prove, and they got a new coach, and they want to send a message. So they're going to beat Tennessee's going to beat Florida. Georgia's beating Florida in Jacksonville. Georgia's a powerhouse. There's no problem losing that. They're going to lose at Texas A&M. Again, that's not a surprise either. But they're going to lose at home to South Carolina. I think they're going to overlook them. They're going to be like a little bit of a loser's hangover at Texas A&M, and that's the reason why they're going to lose to South Carolina at home. But they're going to go 8-4 overall, 4-4 in conference. Now comes the defending national champions, the Georgia Bulldogs. They start off week 1 for a game against Oregon in Atlanta. Then they're going to face week 2 against Samford, not Stanford, Samford. At South Carolina, home for Kent State, at Missouri, home for Auburn and Vanderbilt. Then they get a bye. Then they play Florida and Jacksonville. They're the only team in college football, I think, in the ones we reviewed, that had 2 neutral site games. Home for Tennessee, at Mississippi State, and at Kentucky, and finish the season at home against Georgia Tech. Who are they going to lose to? I had a debate on this one, folks, because I'm looking, okay, you don't play LSU, you don't play Texas A&M, you don't play Arkansas, you don't play Alabama. Who are you going to lose to? And I looked at one game. I say, oh, the Tennessee game? No. At Kentucky. Week 12. I think they're going to be dinged up. Kentucky's going to be jacked. If there was a game they're going to lose all year, near the end of the season where injuries could come across, I think it's going to be that Kentucky game, and that's where I'm picking them to lose, on the road to Kentucky. That's 11-1 overall for Georgia, 7-1 in conference. Next team is the aforementioned Kentucky. What's their schedule? Well, they have week 1 against Miami of Ohio. Then they're at Florida, Youngstown. Then they're home for back-to-backs against Youngstown State and Northern Illinois. Then at Ole Miss, home for South Carolina and Mississippi State. Then they get a bye. Then they're on the road at Tennessee and Missouri. And then they got 3 consecutive home games against Vanderbilt, Georgia, and Louisville. Well, who are they going to lose to? They're going to have a good year too. But they're going to lose at Florida. They're going to lose at Ole Miss. They're going to lose at Tennessee. Yes, I'm saying they're losing at Tennessee because Tennessee wants to set a point here because Kentucky really doesn't beat Tennessee that often. And they're going to lose at Missouri. That was a tough one. I was debating they're going to lose that one. I'm thinking, well, Missouri's had a down year. I think they're going to come back a little bit, rectify some losses, but they're going to lose that game to Missouri. So Kentucky's going 8-4 overall, 4-4 in conference. Next up is, it's Missouri. Well, what's their schedule going to be? They're going to be home for Louisiana Tech, at Kansas State, home for Abilene Christian, at Auburn, home for Georgia, at Florida. Yeah, notice the pattern here? Then they get a bye. It continues. Home for Vanderbilt, at South Carolina, home for Kentucky, at Tennessee. Then back-to-back home games for New Mexico State and Arkansas. They broke the tradition. They didn't go home road the whole season, but 2 more home games. So who are they going to lose to? Well, Missouri. Actually, who they're going to beat? Well, they're going to beat Louisiana Tech. They're going to beat Kansas State. They're going to beat Abilene Christian. They're going to beat Vanderbilt. They're going to beat Kentucky at home. That's the only reason they picked the Benims. They're at home. And they're going to beat New Mexico State. So that means Missouri will be 6-6 overall, 2-6 in conference. Now we got South Carolina. Their schedule is home against Georgia State, at Arkansas, home for Georgia, Charlotte, and South Carolina State, at Kentucky, then they get a bye, home for Texas A&M and Missouri, then at Vanderbilt and Florida, home for Tennessee, and then at Clemson. How's South Carolina going to do? Well, they're going to beat Georgia State, they're going to beat Charlotte, they're going to beat South Carolina State, they're going to beat Missouri at home because they're at home, they're going to beat Vandy on the road, and they're going to beat Florida on the road. As I mentioned that one, that was I feel like a comeback game for them. So they're going to be 6-6 overall, 3-5 in conference. Now comes the Tennessee Vols. Everybody's going to think, uh-oh, how bad's he going to homer this one? They're home for Ball State, week 1, then at Pitt, home for Akron and Florida, then they get a bye, at LSU, home for Alabama, UT Martin, and Kentucky, at Georgia, home for Missouri, at South Carolina, and home for Vanderbilt. Who are they going to beat? Who are they going to lose to? They're going to lose to LSU. People said they're going to beat them. No, they're not. They're going to lose to LSU. They're going to lose to Alabama, and they're going to lose to Georgia. Some people have had to say, I've heard people prognosticators say, Tennessee's going to beat Georgia in Georgia. They're so destined. Guys, this is only year 2 of the Josh Heupel era. This is the defending national champions. And, their starters are gone. You forgot the fact they got one heck of a bench. Hello? And Tennessee's still trying to fill theirs out. They're losing to Georgia. Okay? Tennessee's going 9-3 overall, 5-3 in conference. And then the last team in the SEC East, we're talking Vanderbilt. Oh boy. Here we go. At Hawaii, home for Elon and Wake Forest. On the road for Northern Illinois and Alabama. Then they get a bye. Home for Ole Miss. On the road for Georgia and Missouri. Then they get another bye because the week 0 game was Hawaii. They got 2 byes because of that. Then they're home for South Carolina, at Kentucky, and then home for Florida and Tennessee. Who are they going to beat? They're going to beat Hawaii, they're going to beat Elon, and they're going to beat Northern Illinois. And they're not beating anybody else. They're 3-9 overall, 0-8 in conference. Now we go to the SEC West. Who we got here? We got, of course, Alabama, the defending regular season champs. Defending conference champs, excuse me. We have home for Utah State, at Texas, home for Louisiana Monroe and Vanderbilt. Talking about Cupcake City back-to-back. At Arkansas, home for Texas A&M, at Tennessee, home for Mississippi State, then they get a bye, at LSU and Ole Miss, and then home for Austin Peay and Auburn. Who are they going to beat? Who are they going to lose to? I was going this. Are they going to go undefeated? No. I think Lane Kiffin's going to join the now growing list of former Saban assistants who's going to beat him, and Alabama's going to lose at Ole Miss this year. That's their one loss. They're going to be 11-1 overall, 7-1 in conference. Who's next? It's Arkansas. What's their schedule? Well, they start off with 3 home games against Cincinnati, South Carolina, and Missouri State. Then they're playing Texas A&M and Arlington. Home for Alabama. On the road for Mississippi State and BYU. Then they get a bye. On the road to Auburn. Home for Liberty, LSU, and Ole Miss. And then finish off the season at Missouri. So who are they going to beat? Well, they're going to have a good year too. So who are they going to lose to? They're going to lose to Texas A&M in Arlington. They're losing to Alabama. They're going to lose on the road to Mississippi State. If they would have been in Arkansas, I would have given the win to Arkansas. It's a 50-50 game, but since they're on the road, they lose. And BYU, I think traveling that far west is going to screw Arkansas up. You're talking about a team that's in Arkansas down in the south with low altitude going up to BYU where it's 5,000 feet. Plus the travel, yeah, I think it's going to pay dividends for BYU, and BYU's going to get the win. That's the only games they're going to lose. I mean, they're literally going to win 3 games in a row, lose 4 in a row, and finish the season on a 5-game winning streak. They're going to go 8-4 overall, 5-3 in conference. Next, we have Auburn. Who's Auburn going to play? Well, they start off the season. You didn't hear that. Oh, you didn't see that either. Oh, my goodness. It just happens to go that way. Stuff dropping and falling here, folks. What else is new? All right, well, Auburn season. Well, they start off the season with 5 consecutive home games. 5 home games in a row for Auburn. For Mercer, San Jose State, Penn State, Missouri, and LSU. Then they're on the road for Georgia and Ole Miss. Then they get a bye. Home for Arkansas. At Mississippi State. Home for Texas A&M and Western Kentucky, and finish off the season on the road, the Iron Bowl at Alabama. Well, who are they going to beat? Well, they're going to beat Mercer, San Jose State. They're beating Penn State. If you watched the Big Ten video, this was a 50-50 game. I gave it to Auburn because they're at home, and it's going to be rocking. They're going to beat Missouri. They're going to beat Texas A&M because they're at home, 50-50 game. They're going to beat Western Kentucky. Auburn's going 6-6 overall, 2-6. In conference. Now we have LSU. What's their schedule? Well, they're going to play week 1 against Florida State in New Orleans. Then they have home games, actual home games, against Southern Mississippi State and New Mexico. Then they're on the road for Auburn, home for Tennessee, at Florida, home for Ole Miss. Then they get a bye, home for Alabama, at Arkansas, home for UAB, and finish off on the road at Texas A&M. So how are they going to do? Well, LSU is going to have a bounce back here. They're going to do a good season. I think they're going to lose, but the problem is, who are they losing to? They're going to lose to fewer teams. They're going to lose to Florida because they're in Florida, 50-50 game. They're going to lose to Alabama, no surprise there. They're going to lose on the road to Arkansas because they're in Arkansas, and they're going to lose to Texas A&M because they're in Texas A&M. There are a lot of road losses. 1 home loss to Alabama. That means LSU's going 8-4 overall, 4-4 in conference. Next is Mississippi State. What's their schedule? Well, let's see. They start off at home with Memphis, then 2 road games against Arizona and LSU, 3 consecutive home games against Bowling Green, Texas A&M, and Arkansas, back-to-back road games against Kentucky and Alabama. Then they get a bye. And then they get 3 consecutive home games for Auburn, Georgia, and East Tennessee State, and they finish off the year on the road at Ole Miss. So how are they going to do? Well, who are they going to lose to? They're going to win more than they lose. They're going to lose at LSU. They're going to lose at Kentucky. I debated on that game, but I figured I'm going to go with the home team, and Mississippi State's on the road. So they're going to lose that. They're going to lose at Alabama. No shame there. They're going to lose to Georgia. No shame there. And they're going to lose to Ole Miss because Ole Miss is a better team. So that means Mississippi State's going to be 7-5 overall, 3-5 in conference. Now comes Ole Miss. What's their schedule? Well, they start off at home against Troy and Central Arkansas. Then they're on the road to Georgia Tech, home for Tulsa and Kentucky, on the road for Vanderbilt, home for Auburn, at LSU and Texas A&M. Then they get a bye late, home for Alabama, at Arkansas, and then home for Mississippi State. So who are they going to lose to? Because they're going to win more than they lose to. They're going to lose at home to Auburn. I called that as an upset, but they're going to lose at home to Auburn. They're going to lose on the road to LSU and Texas A&M because I'm calling them 50-50 games. There's going to be a lot of close teams, a lot of close games here. And they'll lose on the road to Arkansas. Again, a 50-50 game. Remember, folks, they're going to beat Alabama at home. I have them beating Alabama at home. So that's where their big win. So they're going to be 8-4 overall, 4-4 in conference. And now, the last one. None other than Texas A&M. What's their schedule? Well, they start off with 3 consecutive home games against Sam Houston, Appalachian State, and Miami. Yes, the U, the one down in Florida. Then they got a game against Arkansas in Arlington. And on 2 road games against Mississippi State and Alabama. Then they get a bye. Then they're at South Carolina, home for Ole Miss and Florida, at Auburn and finish the season at home against UMass and LSU. So who are they going to beat? Well, who are they going to lose to? I only have them losing 3 games, Texas A&M. They're going to lose on the road to Mississippi State because they're going to overlook them. They're going to lose at Alabama. No shame there. And they're going to lose at Auburn because they're going to overlook them. I think that Texas A&M, it almost seems like Jimbo Fisher is getting a little bit cocky. He's going to overlook some teams, thinks that all he has to do is show up. At least it seemed that way based on some of his press conferences. So I think that's going to come back to bite him this year. So that puts them 9-3 overall, 5-3 in conference. So what's the regular season's final prediction standings going to be? Let's go to the SEC East from the bottom up. Bottom, what a surprise. Vanderbilt, 3-9, 0-8 in conference. Then next is Missouri, 6-6 overall, 2-6 in conference. Then South Carolina, 6-6 overall, 3-5 in conference. And then 2 schools finished 8-4 overall, 4-4 in conference. That's Florida and Kentucky. Well, Florida beat Kentucky, so they get the nod. Tennessee's next at 9-3 overall, 5-3 in conference. And the ACC East winner, what a surprise. Georgia, 11-1 overall, 7-1 in conference. Now we go to the SEC West. At the bottom, Auburn, 6-6 overall, 2-6 in conference. Then Mississippi State, 7-5 overall, 3-5 in conference. 2 schools finished same record, 8-4 overall, 4-4 in conference. That's LSU and Ole Miss. Well, LSU beat Ole Miss. That's why they get the nod. Then we had 2 schools that finished 5-3 in their conference record. Texas A&M was 9-3. Arkansas was 8-4. Well, Texas A&M beat Arkansas, so they get the nod for second place. First place is Alabama, 11-1 overall, 7-1 in conference, which means, oh gee, what a shock. Alabama and Georgia playing each other for the championship. What's going to happen? Georgia had a miracle season last year and won the national championship, but it ended up being Alabama was just too much. Bryce Young is on a mission to right a wrong in his mind from last year, and Alabama will beat Georgia again in the SEC championship game to win it and go to the college football playoff. So, what's going to happen next? Well, we'll see. Because the next video I'm posting is going to be my college football playoff prediction video, who's going to win the national championship, and then I'm following that up with my top 25. I'm going to do the top 25 is, I'm doing it a preseason because I want to base this on not when it starts the season, but what I think it's going to be at the end of the year. Not what they are right now, but based on what I predict their seasons to be, where they're going to be at the end of the year. I'm going to base it off of that. So we're going to see how bad I screw this one up, because I'm going to bet this is going to be horrible. But we'll see. But anyway, if you liked the video, give me a thumbs up down below. If I screwed up, you said something wrong, said something right, let me know down in the comments. Let me know. And if you like what you see, hey, like some of the other videos, check them out. Hey, subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get this to grow here. So thanks, everybody, for watching. Remember, the predictions video continue for the national championship next. And as always, everyone, please be good to each other.